The story begins high above Earth, where the once blue skies are now darkened by the looming shadows of war. The planet is under attack, and the alien race known as the Karleks has already obliterated most of Earth's defenses. Their ships, large and imposing, have wiped out human fleets with ease, using advanced technology that humans can't even begin to comprehend. Cloaking devices render the aliens nearly invisible, and their artificial intelligence controls their fleet with perfect precision. It seems there's no way to win. In the cockpit of a battered human ship, Captain Olivia Trent stares out the viewport, watching the massive Karleks fleet circling Earth like vultures. Her ship, an older model that had been retrofitted for this final stand, is damaged beyond repair. The hull is scarred from previous battles, the systems flickering, and yet, it's all that remains of Earth's last defense. Trent's face is pale, her thoughts grim. She knows Earth is losing, and the final countdown has begun just a few minutes before the Karleks launch their devastating attack. There's no escaping it now. As the countdown ticks away, the tension in the air grows thick. Sergeant Bonner, Trent's closest friend and one of her most trusted soldiers, had made the ultimate sacrifice just hours before. He led a dangerous attack to buy the remaining fleet some time, but the plan failed. Bonner's ship was destroyed, and he went down fighting, leaving Trent to face this final moment without him. His face flashes through her mind, his bravery, his laughter, and the bond they shared. There's no time to mourn, though. Not yet. Humanity's fate is still in her hands. The camera zooms in on Trent as she grips the controls, her knuckles white. There is a sense of helplessness, but also a quiet, burning resolve. Despite the loss of so many comrades, despite the overwhelming power of the Karleks, she won't give up. She can't. Earth is counting on her, and she'll fight to the last. Suddenly, a crackling voice breaks through the silence. The Karleks commander, Supreme Commander Vrax, speaks directly to the humans, his words dripping with arrogance and disdain. His voice echoes through the ship's speakers, taunting them, mocking their pitiful attempts at resistance. You thought you could stop us? Vrax sneers. You are nothing but insects beneath our boots. Your technology is primitive, your force is weak. We have already won. You are beneath us. It's over. Vrax's laughter fills the room as he gloats. The arrogance in his voice is undeniable, and it sends a chill down Trent's spine. He believes it's finished. The Karleks have wiped out every major human fleet in space and decimated Earth's cities. They are far too advanced for humanity to ever overcome. The idea of Earth's people standing against such an unstoppable force seems absurd to him and to many of the humans too. But Captain Trent doesn't share that belief. Just as all hope seems lost, a soft, electronic beep cuts through the tension. It's Zephyr, the human AI developed for this very moment. The artificial intelligence had been activated to aid in the final fight, and though its capabilities were still being tested, it had already proven itself as a valuable ally. Zephyr's voice, calm and methodical, fills the cockpit, cutting through the chaos of the battlefield. Captain Trent, I have found a weakness. The Karleks cloaking system has a flaw, one that I can exploit. I can disable their ships, but it's a long shot. It's the only chance we have. If we fail, Earth's last fleet will be destroyed. If we succeed, we can turn the tide. Trent's heart races. This is it. The 1-in-a-million shot. The Karleks are close now, their fleet ready to strike. The clock is ticking. It's a gamble, a desperate chance that might just be their salvation or their doom. If the virus Zephyr sends doesn't work, there will be no escape. But if it does, the Karleks will be exposed, their once impenetrable fleet vulnerable for the first time. The humans will have a chance to fight back. Trent takes a deep breath, her eyes locked on the Karleks ships in the distance. This is the moment they've been waiting for. One chance to make a stand. One chance to prove that humanity isn't done yet. She turns to her crew, her voice steady but filled with determination. Prepare for everything we've got. This is our last shot. We make it count. The scene cuts to the Karleks fleet closing in. The countdown continues, the Earth's final defense fleet moving into position. The weight of the situation presses down on everyone, but in that moment, there's something else. A spark of hope, flickering amidst the darkness. And as the first shots are fired, it becomes clear humanity isn't finished yet. With only moments to spare, Captain Olivia Trent stands before her crew, the weight of Earth's survival hanging heavy on her shoulders. The Karlach's fleet looms large on the monitors, their cloaking devices rendering them almost invisible. But, thanks to the unexpected help of Zephyr, the human AI, a glimmer of hope appears. Zephyr has discovered a flaw in the Karlach's cloaking system, a tiny vulnerability that could be exploited, but it's going to require a daring move, one that could very well end in failure. The plan is risky. A brave pilot must fly deep into the heart of the Karlach's fleet, close enough to implant a virus into their cloaking systems. If successful, it will disable the Karlach's cloaks, exposing their ships to full visibility, and giving the humans a chance to fight back. If it fails, however, the Karlachs will destroy the fleet without hesitation, and Earth's last hope will be gone. Trent gathers her remaining officers in the war room. The room is tense, the faces of her crew shadowed with fatigue and fear. But there's no time for fear now, this is their final chance. General Wilson, an older man with decades of experience, stands at the back of the room, his arms crossed. His face is lined with age, his eyes hard but full of determination. "Captain," Wilson says, stepping forward. "I volunteer for the mission." There's a moment of silence, the kind that fills the air before a storm. Trent's eyes meet his, and for a brief moment, she sees the same resolve in his eyes that had once been in Bonner's. Wilson is old, well past the age of active duty, and his body shows the wear of years of battle. He knows the risks, but his face is set. He doesn't hesitate, knowing that if they're going to win this fight, it will require someone with the experience to see it through. "No," Trent says softly, shaking her head. "It's too dangerous. I've been on the front lines longer than anyone here, Olivia," Wilson interrupts, his voice steady and firm. "I'm not going to sit back while Earth burns. I know the risks. But we don't have a choice. Let me do this." His words cut through the tension like a blade. There's no arguing with him, and in her heart, Trent knows that he's right. She looks at him for a long moment, her thoughts racing. She wants to argue, to beg him to stay. But she knows Wilson's mind is made up. She can't stop him. Instead, she gives him a nod, one that speaks volumes about the bond of trust between them. "All right, General. You're the best we have. But know this, if you don't make it back, I'll never forgive myself." Wilson gives her a slight smile, though it's tinged with sadness. "We're in this together, Olivia. If I don't come back, you lead them. You're the captain now." With that, the plan begins to take shape. The humans will fake a retreat, making it look like they're running from the Karlachs, luring them into a trap. The Karlachs are overconfident, thinking they've already won. They'll take the bait and follow the humans into the trap. Meanwhile, General Wilson will make a high-speed dash straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. He will have to fly past dozens of Karlach ships, narrowly avoiding fire, and plant the virus into their cloaking systems. It's a one-way mission. There will be no backup. No room for error. Wilson's ship will be outnumbered and outgunned the entire way in, and once he's inside the Karlach's fleet, there's no turning back. The human's best chance of survival depends on his ability to deliver that virus and disable the cloaks before he's destroyed. As the plan is set into motion, Trent can feel the heavy weight of it all. She watches Wilson as he suits up for the mission, the tension in the air palpable. The crew works quickly, preparing their ships, loading weapons, and getting ready to fight. There's no more time for indecision. Earth's fate is now in their hands, and everything will come down to this moment. "I'll be back," Wilson says to Trent, his voice soft but resolute as he heads toward the hangar. His words are meant to reassure her, but they do little to calm her nerves. "Just make sure that you do," she replies, her voice breaking slightly. With a final glance at his crew, Wilson steps into his ship. The engines hum to life, and his ship slowly lifts off the ground. He's leaving behind his family, his comrades, and maybe even his life, but for the people of Earth, he's willing to do whatever it takes. The fleet watches in silence as Wilson's ship rockets toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The countdown continues, and Trent's heart races as she watches his progress on the monitors. This is it. There's no turning back now. The trap is set, and General Wilson is about to carry out the most dangerous mission of his life. The next few minutes will decide everything. Would the plan work, or would it be humanity's final stand? The plan is set into motion as Captain Olivia Trent watches from the command center. The human fleet, battered and exhausted, begins its risky maneuver. With the Karlach's fleet closing in, the humans break formation, pretending to retreat toward Earth's moon. It's a desperate ploy, one that relies on the Karlach's overconfidence. The alien fleet, believing they've already won, follows eagerly, ready to wipe out the remaining human forces. For a moment, everything is eerily quiet. The Karlach's fleet approaches the moon, their ships cloaked and invisible, as if they're the only ones in the vast expanse of space. But then, the trap is sprung. Just as the Karlach's ships think they've cornered the humans, a burst of static cuts through the silence. The human fleet decloaks all at once, their ships suddenly visible against the backdrop of the cold, dark void of space. The Karlach's are caught off guard, their once invincible fleet now exposed. Zephyr's hacked technology has worked, disabling the Karlach's cloaks, and the human ships are now visible to the entire Karlach's armada. The humans immediately break into action. Their ships, though old and patched together, move with agility and precision, their aging technology still holding strong in the face of an overwhelming threat. The human fighters dart between the massive Karlach's ships, firing missiles and plasma beams with deadly accuracy. The Karlach's are stunned, disoriented by the sudden attack, and they're slow to react. On the bridge of the flagship, Captain Trent watches as explosions light up the battlefield. A human fighter moves in close, firing a direct shot at a Karlach's destroyer's weak point, tearing through its shield and sending it into a spin. One by one, the Karlach's ships explode in fiery bursts as the human fleet unleashes everything they've got. It's a chaotic, intense battle, with the flash of plasma fire and the sound of distant explosions echoing through the calms. The camera cuts to the inside of one of the human ships, where soldiers fight fiercely in the narrow corridors. Sergeant Miller, a veteran soldier, and his team charge down a hallway, their weapons drawn as Karlach's soldiers burst through the door. The sound of gunfire fills the air, and Miller's team fights with everything they have, their movements fast and fluid as they push forward. Each shot counts, each step a desperate fight for survival. Outside, the space battle rages on. Human ships use guerrilla tactics, weaving in and out of the Karlach's fleet, striking from unexpected angles. The humans know they don't have the firepower to match the Karlach's ship for ship, but they make up for it with their speed, resourcefulness, and sheer determination. Meanwhile, General Wilson is deep inside the Karlach's fleet, his ship narrowly dodging the fire from several enemy ships. The Karlach's are relentless, firing continuously as Wilson weaves through their defensive lines. His ship shakes with every near miss, the hull groaning under the stress. Sweat drips down his face, his hands gripping the controls so tightly his knuckles turn white. He pushes the engines to their limits, the ship screaming in protest as it accelerates toward the Karlach's flagship. The enemy fire is coming faster now, and Wilson can feel the pressure building. His ship is barely holding together, several sections are on the brink of failure, and there's no room for error. As he nears the flagship, the camera zooms in on his ship, one of its engines smoking and sparking from the damage it's taken. With only moments left, Wilson activates the final thrusters, sending the ship into a sharp dive. Missiles explode nearby, sending debris tumbling through space. He narrowly avoids a massive Karlach's gunship, its weapons firing only meters away from his hull. His ship shakes violently, and for a second, it seems like it won't make it. But Wilson doesn't give up. He pushes the ship past the Karlach's defenses, dodging explosions as his ship grows ever closer to the flagship. Every moment feels like an eternity. Will he reach it in time? Will he survive the onslaught? The tension is unbearable as Wilson's ship nears the Karlach's flagship, just within range of planting the virus that could disable their entire fleet. The battle outside rages on, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. It's all coming down to this. Will Wilson succeed in his mission, or will the Karlach's crush the last remnants of humanity's resistance? The scene cuts to black just as Wilson's ship closes in on the flagship, the sound of enemy fire growing louder, the battle around him intensifying. The audience is left breathless, caught in the heart of the action, waiting to see if the humans can turn the tide of the war. The tension in space is unbearable as General Wilson's ship, battered and broken, moves into position. The virus is about to be deployed into the heart of the Karlach's fleet. With a final push, Wilson activates the virus, and almost immediately, the once invisible Karlach ships flicker and become visible to every human vessel. The sudden shift in the battlefield is like a wave crashing against a dam. Humanity's final hope has arrived. The human fleet, seeing the Karlach ships for the first time, explodes into action. They unleash everything they've got, missiles and plasma fire streaking through space as the Karlachs scramble to regain control. It's chaos. A Karlach ships now exposed to the full might of the human fleet. The once invincible aliens are now vulnerable, and the human fighters, emboldened by the chance for victory, strike with fierce precision. The tide of battle is turning. But as the virus spreads, General Wilson's ship is badly damaged. His mission has been a success, but he knows there's no way he'll survive to see the outcome. His ship is too far gone, engines failing, hull breached, and he's on a crash course for destruction. The Karlachs are closing in, their ships firing relentlessly, trying to eliminate him before he can escape. He has only one option left, the escape pod. Wilson, his face grim but resolute, looks at the monitors one final time. His hands shake slightly as he prepares to eject the pod. The message he sends to Captain Trent is short but full of meaning, every word carrying the weight of the sacrifice he's made. Olivia, it's done. I did my part. Now you lead them. Humanity's fate is in your hands. The transmission ends, and Wilson punches the release button for the escape pod. As the pod launches into the cold depths of space, a massive explosion rips through his ship. The flames of the blast momentarily light up the dark void, and then, silence. Captain Trent watches from the bridge, her face set in a mixture of disbelief and sorrow. She feels the loss of Wilson deeply, as if a piece of herself has been taken away. He was more than a comrade, he was a friend, a mentor. But there's no time to grieve, not now, not when the fate of Earth is still hanging by a thread. General Wilson is gone, she says quietly to her crew, her voice thick with emotion. But he gave us a chance. We won't waste it. We fight for him. For all of us. The crew, silent but determined, nods in agreement. They understand. They all know what Wilson sacrificed to give them this opportunity. Now it's their turn to carry the torch. With a heavy heart, Captain Trent takes command. The human fleet, battered but not broken, charges toward the heart of the Karlach's fleet. The final assault is underway. The Karlachs, disoriented by the sudden vulnerability of their ships, are trying desperately to regroup, but the humans have momentum on their side. Trent orders everything to be thrown into the final push. Her ship, damaged beyond belief, is barely holding together, but she doesn't care. They have one chance to end this war, and she'll use every ounce of strength to make it count. The crew fights with everything they have left, knowing that Wilson's sacrifice will not be in vain. The battle reaches its climax. Karlach ships explode in brilliant fireballs as human fighters press their advantage, targeting weak spots exposed by the virus. Trent's ship rips through the Karlach's formation, her weapons blasting away at anything in their path. She can feel the heat of the moment, the final moments of humanity's fight for survival. The Karlachs are on the retreat, their once imposing fleet crumbling under the weight of humanity's resilience. As the final Karlach ships are destroyed, Captain Trent knows that victory is at hand, but it comes at a heavy price. The human fleet, though victorious, is shattered. The crew has lost so much. But they've won. Earth has survived. General Wilson's sacrifice will never be forgotten. The battle finally reaches its climax. The Karlach's flagship, the heart of their powerful fleet, explodes in a massive, blinding flash of light. The shockwave ripples through space, tearing apart the alien ships nearby. It's a moment of pure victory for humanity, but the cost is immediately clear. Without their flagship, the Karlach's fleet is thrown into chaos. Their forces, once united and unstoppable, are now disorganized and leaderless. Slowly, the surviving Karlach ships begin to retreat, their once proud armada now nothing more than a scattering of defeated vessels. For the first time in what feels like forever, Captain Olivia Trent allows herself to breathe. The Karlachs have been pushed back. Earth is safe, at least for now. The human fleet, battered and barely hanging on, has won the impossible fight. Against all odds, they've survived, and they've turned the tide in humanity's favor. But as Captain Trent looks around, the victory feels hollow. She surveys the damage to her fleet, burned-out ships, wreckage drifting through space, and the silence that follows the battle. Many of her crew are gone. General Wilson, who sacrificed everything for this moment, is lost forever. Sergeant Bonner, her closest friend, is also gone. The weight of their deaths hangs heavily in the air. The humans have won, but at what cost? The surviving soldiers gather in silence, their faces solemn as they prepare to honor their fallen comrades. On the deck of the last human ship, a small, intimate ceremony takes place. Captain Trent stands in front of a makeshift memorial, her eyes staring at the empty space where General Wilson and Sergeant Bonner should be. The soldiers, those who fought beside them, stand in formation, heads bowed in respect. There are no speeches, no grand words, just the shared understanding that the sacrifices made have kept humanity alive. As the ceremony ends, the crew quietly disperses, each person left to their own grief and memories. It's a bittersweet victory, one that carries the weight of loss with it. The survivors know that they must carry on, for the fallen ones, for the future of Earth. But the scars of the battle will never fade. Captain Trent, exhausted but resolute, gazes out of the viewport at the now peaceful Earth below. The planet looks different now, safe, but scarred. The battle has taken its toll on both the human fleet and the world they fought to protect. Yet, there's a sense of something new beginning. The victory over the Karleks has proven humanity's strength, their resilience in the face of unimaginable odds. The aliens who once looked down on humanity, believing them weak and primitive, now have learned a powerful lesson: Earth and its people are not to be underestimated. As the camera pulls back from Earth, the stars above twinkle in the distance, signaling that this victory is just the beginning. Humanity has shown that they are capable of incredible things, even when the odds are stacked against them. The war against the Karleks may be over, but the galaxy will never be the same. Earth, once considered an insignificant speck in the vastness of space, has earned the respect of the galaxy's most powerful enemies. And with this hard-earned victory, humans have shown that they are no longer the underdogs. The screen fades to black, but the sound of distant stars and the promise of a new beginning linger in the air. Humanity's place in the galaxy is no longer uncertain. They've proven they can fight, survive, and win. And now, they are ready for whatever comes next.